Hi, my name is Sitaram Param. I'm one of the co-founder and CEO of Release IQ. Today's session is about implementing end-to-end DevOps platform as a service by using our Release IQ platform and JFrog products. Here is the agenda. We'll talk about myself, and then we will go through our Release IQ platform. We'll talk about architecture and differentiators and key features, and then we'll jump to the Release IQ and JFrog integration use cases, and then we'll have the demo of those integration use cases, and then we will summarize the session. This is about myself. I have 20 plus years of experience in leading cross-functional engineering teams, development, QA, DevOps, SRE. My passion has been always implementing processes to deliver software faster with quality. So, I have spent a lot of my career working on that exact issue, and I started the company to develop a product in that space. I love to travel, and hopefully I can start traveling again soon. So this is our DevOps platform. We have a server which sits on the AWS cloud, and this is our agent which sits on the customer's network. Our agent is responsible to communicate with all the customers' tools, and the agent can be installed on both the private and public clouds. And the communication between the agent and server is one way, and we don't keep any confidential information in the cloud. All the confidential information will be stored in the agent. It's a SaaS application, of course. I'm sure some of you are thinking, it's another CI/CD pipeline product. It's a fair question, since there are a lot of CI/CD products out there. But wait, our Release IQ platform is different. Why? Release IQ is not just a CI/CD pipeline product. It's an unified DevOps platform. Why do we call it unified DevOps platform? Think of any medium or large size enterprises. They will have more than one application. That application could be new cloud native to traditional monolith on-prem apps, right? There will be some application will be in the journey to app modernization. So our product, Release IQ, can integrate with some of the CI/CD tools that the DevOps team already invested on for the existing applications. Also, Release IQ platform can be used to create the CI/CD pipeline for the new cloud native applications from the scratch. So that's why we call this a unified DevOps platform. So if you have multiple applications, each application in a different architecture, on-prem, SaaS, it's a cloud native, microservices, monolith, it doesn't matter whether you have invested in some CI/CD tool or scripts, you can use Release IQ to automate all the release process for all of those products and have one unified view. This is the screenshot from our product. Here you are seeing a pipeline from 4 different products. Product ABC, it's existing apps. Product D is a brand new microservices based app. And ABC, you can see we use Circle CI for CI, Jenkins for CI. It comes from 2 different teams. And then we have CD using our product, and we integrated with these 2 pipelines. And then we have the CD steps using Release IQ. The product B is Bamboo and Release IQ. Product C is Jenkins and Spinnaker. Product D is, again, as I said, it's a brand new microservices based app. You can use Release IQ to do both CI/CD from scratch. You see a unified view here, and we'll see more of this in the demo. And continuous testing. So when you have a CI pipeline, almost all the tests are going to be automated in there. When you configure the test in CI pipeline, it's going to be automated test. But when it comes to CD, you will have both automated and manual tests, and we have ability for DevOps admin to go and embed the automated and manual testing process into the pipelines. So not only just embedding, by doing that, all the stakeholders can see the test results. If there is a failure, they can go and look at why it failed, debug, troubleshoot. They can do whatever they want with it. So it's a continuous testing is part of our DNA. And we help people to actually troubleshoot the pipeline failures fast. How? We collect all the relevant logs from all the different sources, from deploy machine, test infrastructure, deploy infrastructure. We collect all the logs, and then we apply some analytics. We provide root cause analysis, or we also give the workspace for them to go and compare the logs when the thing was success versus when it failed. For example, let's say build passed versus failed. They can compare the two sets of logs and find out the root cause. We also provide ability for them to view all the raw logs, so they can also go and debug on their own. When I say they, it's the developers, testers, whoever wants to debug that particular test failure. So our platform is a people-centric DevOps platform. Why we call people-centric is it has value for everyone on your team. Developers, they have that end-to-end visibility from commit to production. They can view the test failure, deploy failure, build failure. They can troubleshoot. QA guys, they can actually see the consolidated view of all the automated tests that they run, which test suite failed most, which test case is failing most. They can troubleshoot. DevOps guys, they can see all the pipeline that they create in one place. They can find the bottlenecks and troubleshoot the problem. Managers, we provide productivity dashboards and insights for them to improve the release efficiency. So there is something for every stakeholder in the release process. Here is a recap of what we talked. So our platform, ReleaseIQ platform, it supports existing DevOps processes and CI/CD tool chains that you have, irrespective of which app you use, wherever you are in your DevOps journey, whatever cloud you use, whether you use on-prem app or SaaS apps, doesn't matter. You can use ReleaseIQ platform. And you can embed both automated and manual test results with the pipeline. We saw that. And advanced troubleshooting and intelligent root cause analysis features to reduce the MTTR. And then it's a people-centric DevOps platform. These are all the differentiators and key features of our product. With this, I want to jump into our JFrog integration use cases. So with our platform, when you bring JFrog's products like Artifactory, Xray, and JFrog Pipeline, you can really implement end-to-end DevOps platform as a service. By doing that, these are all the use cases that you can solve. First use case, continuous delivery pipeline for on-prem apps. Listen from JFrog Artifactory and deploy to QA environment, run the test and deploy to UAT. So this is an on-prem app, and some companies, even for on-prem app, they have this continuous delivery process. They have this dogfooding or UAT environment, and they continuously deliver to that environment. I have done that, and it's really, really useful to do this continuous delivery for on-prem apps. And you can create those pipelines using our product by integrating with JFrog Artifactory. Second use case that you're going to see is, let's say you have a microservices based architecture, Kubernetes service need to go all the way to production. So you don't use any CI/CD tools in your environment right now. This is a new product. You can use our product all the way from listening from GitHub to deploying to production, especially some advanced deployment strategy like Canary. You can do all that using our product. We'll again using Gradle, build and upload to Artifactory, X-Ray, scan the builds using X-Ray, deploy to stage, run the automated and manual tests, get the approval from SRE and deploy to production. So all that you can do. Third use case is, think of you have an app, and again it's a microservices based architecture. You have two components, two services, both are different teams. They use different tools. One team uses Jenkins pipeline, another team uses JFrog pipeline. In the end, they are listening, building, doing some unit testing, and then they are uploading the builds to Artifactory, and then they scan using X-Ray. And then you want to consume those builds. Once it's passed, you want to consume those builds and deploy to stage together, and the QA teams run some manual testing, manual and automated testing, and then it goes through approval and deploy to production. So in this case, we just use the existing Jenkins jobs to deploy. But in the previous use case, there is no Jenkins. We use ReleaseIQ product to orchestrate this pipeline. In this case also, we use Jenkins and JFrog Artifactory. So 3 use cases: continuous delivery pipeline by listening JFrog Artifactory, CI/CD pipeline from the scratch using ReleaseIQ, and then 2 CI pipelines, external CI pipelines coming together and joining with the CD pipeline, so you can have an end-to-end visibility. These are all the 3 use cases that we're going to see the demo. Let me go to our product. This is swampup.releaseiq.io. So when you log in to the product, this is the admin area, and you go to settings, and this is where the DevOps, by the way, the admin is going to be DevOps, all right, DevOps engineers or DevOps architect who is responsible for creating the pipeline for your applications. So they come here, they configure all this DevOps tools, all the DevOps tools that are in your release process, they will configure here. What is a product? Here I have created SwampUp product, SwampUp team, and bunch of components. So they configure SCM, CI, what environment, what test tools that you use, what is a bug tool you use, what is a deployment tool you use, what is a build repository that you use. Here we configured the Artifactory. So here not only we configured the Artifactory as a tool, you can also create the webhooks from our product. JFrog webhooks you can create from our product. By doing this, you can actually use these webhooks directly in our pipeline when you compose the pipeline. And this is where you configure your X-Ray. So for our demo, today's demo, there are a few things I want you to know. So one is we listen from some GitHub here, and we have JFrog configured, we have X-Rays configured, and we don't use deployment tool, bug management tool in our demo today. Let me go to the pipeline composer. This is where the DevOps admin creates pipelines, and it's a drag and drop pipelines. I'm not going to create a pipeline today. We already have created some pipelines. I'm going to go through that. So this is the first use case, on-prem. Listen from Artifactory. So when you drag and drop this trigger, you select build repository. This is the Artifactory configuration that we already did. This is the webhook we already created using our product. It was configured in the settings section. You basically select which webhook you want to use in this pipeline, and then what is the how do you want to deploy? I want to deploy using my Jenkins job. Here is a job. It takes a parameter. It's a file path. This file path is passed from the payload that we get from the webhook. So that's why we need to listen. That's why we created that webhook. We get the payload, we get the file path, we pass that file path as a parameter to the next deploy job. And then we configure automated test. And again, it's a JUnit test. And we have this concept called quality gate. You can say allow pipeline to proceed even if the tests fail, or if you say no, it will stop when there is a failure. If you say yes and put some failure tolerance, in this case we put 25%, that means below 25% it will be okay, above 25% pipeline will stop. And you can also configure manual tests here. This is how you do. You select manual, enter manually. What is the format? This is the format we already configured. And again, quality gate. In this case, even if there is a failure, we are going to stop the pipeline. And then approval step, and then deploy to UAT. Same thing like how we did deploy to QA. Using the Jenkins job, we configured this. So this is the first pipeline. You create it and then you enable it. When you enable this, developers will start seeing that end-to-end. We'll see that in a while. And then second pipeline is the Kubernetes service. Here we listen from the SCM instead of build repository. We listen from SCM and we build using Gradle. Here you can see we are building and we are uploading that to JFrog repository, and we are scanning using JFrog X-ray. So you can do all of these things, and then we listen from Artifactory, and then we deploy to stage. In this case, we are not using Jenkins. We are using our internal deployer tool to create, to deploy, and we are using rolling update as a strategy. And then we run automated tests, and then there is an approval step, and then we deploy to production. In this case, we use Canary. And when we pick Canary, you can also do Canary verification. There are three ways that you can verify your Canary deployment: using our own insights, or using some tests, or using external insights. You can get insights from some observability tools like AppDynamics and New Relic. And you can have a manual step between the after the Canary verification before you roll out, or you can use the automatic rollout. In this case, we are doing automatic rollout. So this is the second pipeline, again, from listening from SCM all the way to production, Canary deployment. The third pipeline is two components. One is using Jenkins pipeline. You can see this is how you import the Jenkins. So go and select your Jenkins and select the pipeline. Then you will automatically see all the steps. And then you're listening from that Artifactory that Jenkins pipeline uploads to, and then it's connected to release pipeline. Second pipeline component, CI pipeline, is using JFrog pipeline. Here, same way, you pick the JFrog tool and then go and pick which pipeline you want to import, and you directly import, and then you listen from Artifactory, and pipeline connector is used to connect to that release pipeline. Release pipeline is bunch of steps to deploy to stage, run the functional tests, manual tests, approval process, deploy to production. In few minutes, you can actually configure, in the settings section, you can configure all your DevOps tools and then come and create the pipeline here. Our goal is less than 30 minutes. We want our DevOps admins, your DevOps admins, to create the pipelines for your existing apps and new apps. That's the goal here, and that's what you are seeing here. So once DevOps admin creates this pipeline and then they enable it, this is the view that developers see. Let me go to the SwampUp 2 product. This is the commits view. This is the first pipeline view, right? Listen from Artifactory all the way to UAT environment. This pipeline is currently waiting for somebody to upload the manual test results. How do you upload? You click here, you extract. I'm going to upload here. I will search for sample and test pass, and then I extract, and I say my test cycle is completed. So I save it. So now it's uploading the manual test results. So let's look at some already completed pipelines here. So this is how the completed pipeline looks. As you can see, automated test failed. Though it's failed, we still proceeded. The reason is the quality gate. And if let's say developers are looking at this and they look at one test case is failing, and then they can click and they can see the root cause that we show, or they can go and troubleshoot the problem on their own. So this is the failure. They can actually compare this with another successful run. 2 runs they can compare. We show this in a chronology order, so it's easier for them to troubleshoot. Or they can go and look at all the logs, all the relevant logs here. They themselves can go through and debug the problem. So this is the first pipeline. Now let's go to the second pipeline, that is the microservice pipeline, where in this case, we listen from GitHub, we build using Gradle, uploaded to Artifactory, scanned it using X-ray, listened from that Artifactory, deployed to stage. Now this pipeline failed. Why? The automated test failed because quality gate, we said, do not move forward when the test failed. That's why it failed. Now let's go and look at few other few other runs here. In this pipeline, it reached all the way to production. So you can see this is how it looks like when we do the canary deployment. Now this deployment is successful. In this case, it failed. This is how it looks like. The canary verification failed. When the canary verification failed, the rollout is not getting executed, and people can go and click a button here to see all the logs on why the canary verification failed. So this is the second pipeline. The third pipeline is 2 components coming together. We saw the first component is using Jenkins pipeline. So this is the full end-to-end view of that pipeline. And then component 2, it's using JFrog pipeline. This is the another, it's an end-to-end view of that pipeline. So in this case, both automated tests and manual tests failed, and it's not moving forward because the manual test failed. So what you are seeing is when the DevOps admin creates those pipelines, the developers can see the execution view from commits all the way to production. And not only the end-to-end visibility, they can look at the failure and they can also troubleshoot the failure. And another few other dashboards that we have. This is our, we call this QA dashboards. We allow people, the testers, to come here and look at how many test suites they are running in the pipeline, when the test suite passed, when it failed, how many tests passed, how many tests failed. They can see all of that. And we have 2 dashboards for that. And we also have for DevOps engineers, they can see all their pipelines that they are running in their environment, on-prem, SaaS applications pipelines, any kind of pipelines. All the pipelines we show here, how many in the last 7 days, how many passed, how many failed, where it passed, where it failed, where is a bottleneck. They can see all of these things. And then we have an executive summary. This is the, this is for managers. So we have some DevOps metrics. What is the deployment frequency? What is the deployment lead time? They can look at it by product, by team, by component. Same thing for deployment lead time. Also we provide insights. Since we have all the pipeline data, we run analytics. We give them some actionable insights. So for example, in this case, some approvers are taking more than 24 hours. Now the managers or whoever is looking at it, they can talk to that approvers and see why they are taking more time to approve, right? And same thing, this particular test suite is failing. Now they have the context on which test suite is failing. Now they can contact that tester and with the context, and they can have a much better productive communication. And also number of commits that happen in the time frame. You can also filter it based on the product. So any way you want to filter product, team, component, you can do all of those things here. Another view here, pipeline summary. This is the screenshot that I showed in the slides. So this is the consolidated view of, or unified view of, all the products pipelines, right? Across the product, team, components, whatever pipeline that you have in your company, you can see all of them. How many commits that went through that pipeline, how many reached that production or destination if it is an on-prem app, and where there is a bottleneck. In our case, we used the SwampUp 2 product, so I filter out that SwampUp 2 product. These are all the pipeline. As you can see, this is the on-prem, this is the microservices pipeline, this is those two pipeline, JFrog and Jenkins pipeline coming together and gets delivered to production. So you can see all of these pipelines together in one place. And not only that, if there is a problem, you can click and see. In this case, out of 14 times it ran, 4 times it failed. You can exactly see why it failed, at what time it failed. Now again, whoever is looking at it, they can have a better discussion with that person who is responsible for this deployment, right? Mostly it will be DevOps person, and the managers can have a better discussion with that person. So this is our product. Now I will jump to the slides again. So let me summarize. So we saw our unified DevOps platform's differentiators and key features, how it supports cloud native and traditional apps, on-prem SaaS apps, and it has no code drag and drop pipelines. It has the commit based end-to-end visibility, continuous testing part of the DNA. It has advanced troubleshooting to reduce the MTTR. It has persona-based dashboards and productivity insights to improve the release efficiency. And we also talked about how we can integrate with JFrog products. We saw how we can create a continuous delivery pipeline by integrating with Artifactory. We saw how we can do CI/CD pipeline for Kubernetes microservice by integrating with Artifactory and X-Ray. We also saw how to integrate with the Jenkins pipeline and JFrog CI pipelines and create a CD pipeline. And we also have offer for SwampUp attendees. So we are giving our premium version for 6 months for free. So you should be able to use your attendee email IDs and get this offer. And once you register, we can send more details about it. We expect you to use this offer and try to use our product and give us the feedback. Thank you so much. Bye.